Hi, I'm Christopher Stewart. Continuing these little character sketch things, we're going to continue looking at Game of Thrones, and we'll look at the character of Varys the Spider. Now, in some ways, you might say that Varys and Littlefinger are pretty much the same type of character. They're not. They're actually complete opposites, which is fascinating to study as a character. Because Littlefinger is out for himself. He's centered. Everything revolves around him. Because everything revolves around him, he's alone on stage. Whereas Varys is a support character. And everything he does is supporting the characters around him. It's a lot easier to get into that than it is to get to the standalone hero. The standalone hero sometimes looks 2D because they don't care about the surroundings. Whereas a support character is the surroundings. In some ways, you could play Peter more like a support character, but the lines of Peter Baelish require him to more stand alone. Now you have Varys the Spider. Varys is an aristocrat, even if he never was one. He despises slime. He's made fun of by everybody else. And he's trying to be more of a normal person. He's trying to be peaceable. He wants people to talk to him. He wants people to trust him. He wants to learn the little secrets and the little lies. And if he doesn't, then he sends the kids out, and the birds tell him. Knowledge is power. With accents with him, you can kind of come up with different accents. You can think about different accents. You could even throw an American accent into it because he's a slave from the other side of the sea that came to Westeros. So in that sense, he falls more into the whole language of Marine and that kind of world, which makes him a very interesting, versatile character. You can do almost anything with him. But you have to get more into exactly who is he. And one of the best ways to understand Varys is the very simple line of, I want you to support the realm. Okay? It's very sharp, it's very quick, but it's who Varys is. He's concerned about the little people, about how are we going to survive these morons. And so you need to get more into his character in that part. Now, if you look at some of his lines, things like, remember, I was going to tell you how it got cut? Well, a long time ago, I was a boy in the streets, and I was found by a sorcerer. And I have found that when you wait patiently, care for your revenge properly, treat it well, you can be rewarded. And that kind of shortcuts the whole long speech, but it gets the kind of same feeling that here he is, he's finally got the sorcerer in the box. Varys is a complex character, but more because in a lot of cases the actor that portrayed him is Varys more from stage presence than the lines themselves, which is fine. You know, like I said in the last one, you're supposed to be able to take a script and be any character in it, because these plays will be performed any number of times since the original, and they'll require numerous people to redo the same parts. And they'll do it from different angles, different ways, different ideas. Varys is a very complex character. He's a very thoughtful character. He looks at every single aspect of the world, and he's trying to make it better, but he's trying to do it by espionage. He's trying to do it by doing what's required of him, but not doing what's required of him. Yes, I sent the assassin. And I would do it again, and again, and again, if my lord told me, because that's what I needed to do to survive. And because I survived, the realm will survive. Now, the biggest question is you. Are you worth it? Are you? Are you going to be the same tyranny that we have looked at for 1,000 centuries over and over again? Or are you going to finally be something new? Is the realm your responsibility? Will it be worth it? Do you care? You walk like a rich person. I used to steal from people like you. Yes. Of course. Even a simple little part, even a few lines, can develop a character. I did this constantly throughout my film career. I had characters that only had one line, and I had to do something with it. Something which made the character important within the film. Okay? The most difficult thing to be is a character that has practically no lines. Because then it's all body language, it's all how you interact with the set, with the other people in the set, and you have the very few lines which have to mean something. And they have to mean something to your character. You can't just flip them off like you memorized a couple of lines or doing it verbatim kind of nonsense. You have to believe, you have to understand that person, that character, and understand why he's saying what he's saying. You have the exchange between Littlefinger and Varys. When I found out about your confidant, the one you swore to protect, the one who you couldn't protect. Yes, she was a bad investment on my part. But luckily I had a friend who had some interesting ideas and was willing to deal with the small problem of it. And he compensated me for my loss. It's like the throne of Aegon's conquerors, a lie that we tell each other over and over again. Yes. But what happens when we abandon the lie? Chaos. A gaping pit waiting to swallow us all. Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder. You have that kind of exchange going, which kind of builds up both characters and kind of shows both characters in a very interesting light. In that exchange, the most interesting thing is it's one point where you're seeing Varys not only trying to be himself, but you also see him afraid. And then you see him try to cover up that fear. Because he's terrified of Littlefinger. But he doesn't want Littlefinger to understand that, because that gives Littlefinger power over him. Which is a very interesting exchange. It's a wonderful set of characters. All three characters are similar. They're not necessarily all insane, but they're all very interesting characters. They're support characters. They are information, spies, interrogators, troublemakers, problem solvers in their own way, for their own part of the cast. Ramsay is the evil version of everything because he's supporting the villain. And when you're supporting the villain in a lone star like that, you pretty much become the villain, because it's kind of not really understood as to exactly what he is supporting. With Littlefinger, he's a villain in the lightest sense, because yes, he's doing terrible things, but those terrible things aren't really affecting anything in the story. Or what they are affecting, they're affecting the undercurrent. Varys is trying to support the hero, but he's not really sure who a hero is. And in that, he's standing alone. So all three of them are supporting, but all three of them have to be alone and stand alone and have strength in their aloneness, which is fascinating as characters go. They're all intrinsic to each other in one way or another. Even in the books, they're the same type of characters. And you have to understand that once you've read the books and then you've looked at the play version of the books, and you've fallen more in love with the play version than the actual writing of the books, because the writing is better, in my opinion, or the characters are better developed, there's less left out in the ballpark, which there were in the books, which is okay. You know, people write, people do their own thing. But when you're creating a play, you have to make everything better. You have to make it more like it's a story to itself. Because people have to perform it. And because people have to perform it, they have to want to perform it. So it's a fascinating set of characters. And thank you.